Hello and welcome everyone to our International Women's Day Caribbean Tech Summit 2023. We have an awesome lineup for you this year. Oh, am I still on? Yes, I am on. But before we begin our schedule, I would like to just have a quick opening from some really key people who really help put this entire thing together. So I'd actually like to welcome to the stage Caitlin, who is the Global Ambassador Lead for Women Tech Makers at Google, to just give us some insight about why we do what we do here at the Caribbean Tech Summit. So let's welcome her to the stage.
Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Caitlin Morrissey, and I am the global lead of the Women Tech Makers Ambassador Program. First and foremost, thank you to Soumya and Maria and the entire team for putting on this incredible event. You have a lot of really great things in store for you. And so I'm feeling very lucky that I get to be one of the first people to welcome you. International Women's Day is a campaign that we celebrate all throughout the months of March and April every year. And it's a super important time in the year for us because International Women's Day is an amazing day and time period to celebrate, to look at all of the incredible accomplishments that women have made and the progress that has been made thus far, and take some time to celebrate that. But it's also a time where we can recognize that we're still not anywhere close to gender equity. And especially when we look at the tech world, women still remain at about 20 to 25% of all of tech. And depending on where you are in the world, that number might actually be a lot lower. And so with International Women's Day, this is also a very important call to action for everyone, for every woman, but every ally, every person to say, we all can do better, and have a part in really bringing us closer towards a world where we have gender equity. Because when we look across tech, the women are few and far between, especially as you go up into leadership roles. And this is not just a diversity problem, right? We want to have equity because we want people to have equal opportunities. But if we think about the power of technology and how much our world is going to change and shift, if we don't have people that are representative of what our entire global world looks like, we're not going to be building the right solutions and products and outcomes for folks around the world. And so that's really where, as women tech makers, we feel that we all have a role to play in helping to build a world where all women and where everyone can thrive in tech. Because truly, this next chapter in technology is very exciting, but we really need all different types of people thinking about these problems, coming up with solutions, and helping us truly build a more equitable world for all. So there's great power with that. And I think one of the things that we've really focused on this year is our theme of Dare to Be. We've encouraged ambassadors, and I encourage you today to think about all the ways in which you want to dare to be in the world. So whether that's maybe daring to be strong or bold or innovative or resilient, daring to be truly means stepping into your own power in whatever way, shape, or form that might look like, and not being afraid to boldly step into whatever it is that you would like to do and whatever change that you would like to see in the world. So this is an incredibly important time, I think, for all of the things that I talked about. But what I also really encourage you all to do as you're here virtually is use this as an opportunity to connect, to meet with others, to build your network, to find people who you really want to build this amazing world where everyone is thriving in tech together. And use this as an opportunity to reflect on some of the skills and places that you'd like to develop and build up to your next goal, whatever that might look like for you. There's like I said, a ton of great content that is coming your way over the course of the next few days. I feel super grateful to everyone for putting this on and for allowing me to be a tiny little part of your experience. So I just, again, I encourage you all about imagining all the great ways that you want to dare to be in the world this IWD. Thank you for being here and have a fantastic rest of the summit. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. I think you've ended on the perfect note on thinking about what you can dare to be, right? Especially as we go through the upcoming days and we're inspired by so many different talks and people who are actually daring to be whatever it is they want to be. So that is so amazing. And I'm so excited to hear from our next opening address, which is Rodrigo, who is actually our developer relations regional lead at Google. So let's have a warm welcome to Rodrigo as he shares with us what does he think about our theme Dare to Be and this entire event that we put on.
Right. So thanks a lot, Sonia. Thanks, Katie, for your participation also. So just reinforcing my role here, I'm Rodrigo Akira. I'm the developer relations regional lead for Latin America here at Google. Basically, I'm the person responsible for all of our community programs for developers in Latin America. So before speaking about importance of there to be, but I think that I'd like to first start thanking all the event, everyone in the organization, because without you, this event wouldn't be possible. And I'm pretty sure that in a couple of years, we're going to see the result of all the efforts that you're doing across Latin America to make sure that we have more women in tech. We're going to have a more a work environment, a less hostile work environment, with more equity and a safer space for women. So I really appreciate that, and thank you for that on behalf of Google. And for the rest of the audience, uh, thanks for your time. For taking your time in a Friday, to try to learn more. And really, I hope you get encouraged here to really join the technology market if you're not there yet, and if you are, I'm also very glad to have you here at this event. Now, regarding the dare to be, I think that the most important thing about this message for me is that women can do whatever they want to do. They can be whatever they want to be. So and unfortunately, as a man, I can say that we do have a work environment that sometimes is not, the best environment for women, and you must dare to be there, must dare to be whatever you want to be. So I really appreciate your courage for and because I can still say that you are like a pioneer in a market in the IT industry. So this is very important, and I'm really sure, and I hope, for example, that my daughter in the future might be able to work in an environment much better, and this is going to be a result of everything that all of you are doing. So thanks a lot for participating, and I really help. I really hope I'm going to be able to meet you in one of our events, and maybe in the marketing, or maybe as co-workers. So thanks a lot, and I hope you enjoy this event.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rodrigo. And what you mentioned was very spot on that we are doing this for the future generations so that they can thrive in an environment where they're very less, I would say, things limiting them from being the best selves that they can be. So you mentioned a little bit about GDG. So would you mind telling us about what it is and what is it that we actually do in our community?
Of course. So the GDGs, or Google Developer Groups, are groups of technology enthusiasts, not necessarily developers. People passionate about technology that want to promote events to really, the best way to describe it is like to give back to the community what you've received. So they organize technology events to promote knowledge, promote tech talks, or even career talks for the community. So that way you can enrich your acknowledgement and also get to know new people. So this is something amazing. I can personally say that it started my career back in 2000, long time ago, participated in meetups before GDG even existed. And I can really say that it was a very important part of my career because it really helped me. First, I was a very shy person. You know, if anyone invited me to present at an event like this, I would definitely run away from that. And now I can say that I feel much more comfortable speaking in front of other people because participating on meetups and events organized by developer communities really helped me, overcome this, this this characteristic that I had, and it's really important also to get to know new people, get more knowledge, and be more confident, on my career. So basically, this is how I see the importance of GDG, and I really encourage you all that are, watching this event to really participate, to reach a developer community and participate. You can start by learning new things, getting to know new people, but later, why not contribute and give back to the community what you received? I think that's something really noble, and it's really great to see this kind of thing happens because uh, you're gonna learn and see a lot of different stories from the communities, people that were looking for career change, wanted to know more, wanted to make new friends. Why not? That's an amazing place to be.
Absolutely. Community has been actually super substantial in my journey in tech. We're talking about on a smaller scale, from a little tech community back home in the Bahamas to even bigger communities of women in tech, right? Because there's always people that are going through similar path journeys as you are. So it's really important to learn from each other, learn from their experiences, and just be a support pillar for each other. So Rodrigo, do you have any like specific memories that you specifically remember that were like key moments throughout your, I guess, time in GDG?
Um, well, I think it was all about the stories that I've heard. It was not a once nor even twice. I probably were more than 5 times that I've heard from. I was just attending an event, and a person was reaching me and thanking me for what I was doing. And at that moment, I wasn't doing anything. I was just, supporting and participating at that event as a Googler. And hey, you have to thank the event organizers because they are promoting that. No, you have no idea why GDG changed my life. And said, oh, why? I'm curious about it. So, those people, they mentioned that they were refugees from many different countries, and they sometimes they were teachers in their countries. They had other roles that they couldn't perform those roles in that country because they didn't have a valid diploma, or they couldn't find a job. But by participating on GDG events, they had that opportunity. I remember that specifically a refugee from Venezuela. I met him during a meetup, and he was sharing his story. He was a mathematics professor back in Venezuela, but he had to move away from his country. And he told me that he couldn't find a job, and he got a job as a janitor in a university, and that university was like a partner from the local GDG, and they were hosting events in there. And that person started getting to know about how to become a developer on those meetups from GDG, and now he's a front-end developer on a startup based in his country. So this is was such amazing stories. Just by doing this, sometimes you can change a person's life. It's really great to listen to these kind of stories. I think that this was like the most remarkable moment. When we saw the impact of the events that our GDG organizers they make in people's lives.
Absolutely. And even the things that we do unknowingly make impacts in people's lives, right? That's why I'm so happy whenever it's that season where we're planning events, whether it's our Dev Fest that happens towards the end of this year, or our International Women's Day Summit, because there's so much you can learn from people. You get inspired. Just seeing other people, you feel inspired. So yeah, it's a really small ripple effect that really grows bigger into a bigger snowball, and
Mhm.
there's definitely value in that. Before you go, Rodrigo, is there any last words that you'd like to leave the audience with?
Oh well, yeah, just
No? Awesome.
where to be, just there to be. That's the key message of this. I think
Absolutely.
from what Caitlin said and what I've said before, just it. Just there to be.
Absolutely. And we will definitely explore what it means to dare to be whatever it is throughout the upcoming days. So, once again, thank you, Rodrigo, for being with us and opening our Tech Summit for this year. Yeah, so before I move on, I actually wanted to introduce myself, especially because it is the Bahamas' first year of hosting the International Women's Day Tech Summit. So I just wanted to give you a formal welcome to the Tech Summit. My name is Soumya Thorambedi, and I am honored to actually be your host for today. And you will probably see me in the next few days as well. So as a 24-year-old female from the Bahamas, I have been fortunate enough to pursue my education both home and abroad. And currently, I am excited to be here to talk to you about the importance of a collaborative ecosystem, especially a Caribbean one, and the role that women, especially Caribbean women or women of color, play in the tech industry. Because I too recognize myself as a woman of tech. As we explore the possibilities of technology, it is crucial, very crucial, that we recognize the significance of collaboration within the Caribbean, right? Because we sometimes geographically may be far away, but we are so similar and connected in many ways, right? So by working together, we can create a more robust and dynamic ecosystem that can meet unique challenges and opportunities of our region. Because it's funny enough, because I always talk to my fellow Caribbean members in other countries, and we share very, very similar problems, right? And issues that are very resemblant to what we face in our own countries. So the collective knowledge and resources will definitely enable us to develop new ideas and create solutions that will benefit our societies and industries. It is also super essential to acknowledge the contributions of women in tech, particularly Caribbean women, right? Because that's what we're here to celebrate in these upcoming days. Because women have always played a vital role in the development of technology, but their participation has been limited due to various reasons. We're talking about gender bias, systemic barriers, etc. So as brown and Black women, our experiences are very much unique, and our voices are essential in shaping the tech industry's future. And it is super important that we create a more inclusive environment and one that promotes diversity and inclusion that allows all voices to be heard. So the theme for this year's Tech Summit, as you've probably heard a few times already, is Dare to Be. Dare to Be, which means to me stepping outside of your comfort zone and pushing yourself to achieve your full potential. You know, it means having the courage to take risk, break barriers, and challenge yourself to be your very best at whatever it is that you want to be, right? Pursuing your dreams relentlessly, even in the face of adversity. So let us embrace the spirit of Dare to Be as we come together to explore the possibilities of technology and collaboration. Let us celebrate the strength and resilience of our Caribbean community and the power and diversity and inclusion that we hold within ourselves. You know, I really hope that you all find this year's Tech Summit to be inspiring, invigorating, and thought-provoking, and that you will leave with a renewed sense of optimism and purpose. So thank you all once again for being here. This is super, super exciting, and I'm just excited for you guys because we have an amazing, amazing lineup coming up. So thank you all for that. So before we get into our first speaker, we will take a very quick break, and then we will be back with a lot more amazing content. So don't go anywhere, just a few minutes, and we will be back. So take this time to get a coffee, get a tea, because you're going to be here for the next few hours. Definitely stick to your computer because you're going to enjoy the content. You're not going to want to move. So let's do that, and we'll catch up in a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody. Did you get your beverages ready? Because I did. And I'm so ready for the next few hours because I'm so excited to hear what everyone has to say about what it means to dare to be. Before we move on to our first amazing speaker, let's have another opening address from Janika John, who is actually the co founder of Women in Tech Caribbean. Okay, so you may be wondering, what is Women in Tech Caribbean, right? So it's an amazing community of awesome women from the Caribbean and the diaspora. And their mission is to connect the best of female tech talent across the Caribbean and the diaspora to empower and elevate each other, network, share opportunities, and to help each other develop technical skills and more. They have lots of fun, great events. So, to give an example, every last Sunday of the month, members get together under a theme to network and just connect with other Caribbean women in the tech space. So, as Rodrigo was mentioning earlier, the power of community. And this is one community that has actually tremendously helped me and actually meet new people throughout the diaspora. So, we will definitely hear now from the co founder, Janika.
Welcome to this year's edition of International Women's Day Caribbean Tech Summit. We have a really great lineup for you today of speakers, panel discussions, different events. So I hope you engage, I hope you interact, reach out to people, other people that you see who are also attending this conference, reach out to speakers, and yeah, kind of try to get involved. The same platform that you're watching this event on, you should be able to watch replays as well. A lot of people tend to ask about replays, so don't be afraid to watch and rewatch some of the speeches and some of the events that really speak to you. I'm Janika John. I'm the founder of Women in Tech Caribbean, an organization that is really proud to be supporting this event for yet another year. I believe this is our third or fourth year participating. I see a lot of our members participating as usual, so feel free to kind of chat in our Discord about the speeches, about things that you would have heard or learned today and over the next couple of days while we hear from our amazing speakers. I would really love to thank Women Tech Makers Trinidad and Tobago, also Women Tech Makers Bahamas, this year host country, and Google development groups and all the Caribbean groups in general that we've been partnering with over the years for this this event. This event is near and dear to my heart because throughout the Caribbean, we have a lot of tech events, but not a lot of them are really focused on women. And this is one that I can look forward to every year, where we really bring together a lot of women who work in this very male-dominated field, let's say, with a Caribbean background. So with that, I'm gonna keep it short. Thank you for listening to my opening address, and feel free to reach out to me, reach out to members, and let's get the conversation going. Let's keep this going past just today and just the next couple of days. If you're inspired, you have a new idea, something that you want to do that you feel will build the Caribbean based on what was shared, let's link up, let's try to collaborate and see what we can get done. So thank you and enjoy.
That was super lovely. If you'd like to contact Janika John or get to know more about Women in Tech Caribbean, do visit their website, which is www.womenintechcaribbean.com, or you can find Janika on various social media platforms. Very lovely lady, definitely always open to hearing from you and connecting with others. So don't be a stranger. She's there for you. So are you all ready for our first speaker? Let me introduce her to y'all. Her name is Khalees Williams. She has a master's degree in environmental science and management from the University of Trinidad and Tobago. She is the founder of Upro, which is a virtual marketplace and social media platform for immigration. And Khalees started this company because of her personal experience with immigration. So in 2019, her family, consisting of her husband and two kids, aged 1 and 3 at that time, migrated from their home of Trinidad and Tobago all the way to Canada. They knew no one in Canada, and when they landed, and they had never been to Canada before, on their first flight in Canada, they were actually homeless. So this was the inspiration behind her tech startup, Upro. And today she's going to speak to us on the topic of the importance of launching your community. I think this is such an awesome topic to start off with because we do want to embrace the importance of community. So let's welcome Khalees Williams to stage.
Hi.
Hi, Khalees.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome.
You're welcome. You can start whenever you're ready.
Awesome. I just want to make sure that my screen is sharing. Can you also see? There we go. Perfect. So my name is Khalees Williams, as you all heard. And today, I have the honor of speaking to you all about the importance of strategic community development and validating your MVP. Thank you so much again for that very warm welcome. And I feel really honored to be able to speak at this event, seeing that it is specifically for women in tech in the Caribbean. It's really, really, really an honor. So as you heard, my name is Khalees, and I'm the founder of the tech startup, immigration tech startup called Upro. And today we're going to be talking about validating your MVP. So you have an MVP that you want to validate, right? So let me tell you, you cannot do it alone. You need a community. Think about this. Who is going to give you honest feedback? Who's going to help you to improve your product? Who's going to do that? Your mom? Yeah, she loves you, but no telling, she probably won't give you the most honest, brutal feedback that you can get. Right? You need a community of people who are willing to try your product, give you feedback, and help you to spread the word. And this is what we'll be covering today. So a little bit more about me. I've traveled to 19 countries and counting. And my family and I, we currently live in Edmonton, Alberta. However, I was born and raised in Mova, Trinidad and Tobago, and I only migrated less than 4 years ago, so 3+ years ago, right? I have a master's degree in environmental science and management from the University of Trinidad and Tobago. And I also have a certificate in entrepreneurial studies from the Canadian Imperial College. I'm the current winner of the BIPOC Women in Tech Pitch Competition, which was held by the University of Calgary and Calgary Innovates. And my tech startup was selected as one of the top 20 tech companies in Edmonton to pitch at the Startup TNT Pitch Competition this year. So this picture here was actually taken on the night that my family and I boarded that flight to Canada, right? On that very first night that we were homeless, that very night. And this was the inspiration behind my tech startup. So Upro is a virtual marketplace and social media platform for immigrants. And throughout my tech startup journey, I've relied heavily on strategic community development to fuel my validation. This is why I wanted to talk to you today about this topic. It is often misused, misunderstood, forgotten, but it is a powerful strategy that can take your idea from idea all the way to validated and investment ready. So today we'll briefly be talking about what is an MVP, some of the challenges of validating an MVP, the importance of community development strategies. I'm going to be using my company as a case study, and then we're going to end off by just retouching on some of the benefits of strategic community development. So what is an MVP? An MVP is like a mini version of your business idea with only the most important features. You have to make sure that people actually want what you're selling before you go all in, if you know what I mean, right? So imagine you start a food truck, you're selling jerk chicken, but nobody actually likes it, right? You can't cook. You alone thought you could cook, but you can't cook, right? You'll be stuck with a whole lot of chicken and nobody to buy it. And that is never good for business. So before spending all of your money, all of your time on big fancy websites, we all love our websites, big fancy apps, or even on hiring that perfect team, you have to test the waters by validating an MVP. So it is always wise to validate to show that there is demand for your product before heavy investment. So of course, there are challenges. Let's talk about them up front, right? So first of all, there's the uncertainty of whether or not people would actually want the product. You can't just assume that everybody's going to love your idea the way how we all love soccer, right? Then there's also a lack of feedback. So as I said earlier, your mom is probably going to really love it. Your best friend, oh my gosh, they're really going to really love it. But are you really expecting them to tell you that your idea sucks? No, they're not going to tell you. You need real people and real feedback from real users to improve your product. And let's not forget about limited resources. I mean, we're all not just rolling around in money like Rihanna, right? Sometimes we have to make do with what we have. And this could really make it tough to validate and test the MVP, especially seeing that most startup founders, we are bootstrapping. So we are using our savings, right? So limited resources is definitely a challenge, and I'm sure most founders experience. But hey, you know what? Challenges are really just opportunities in disguise, right? You have to be creative, maybe a little scrappy. You have to be willing to look stupid sometimes, be willing to hustle, get out there, talk to people, ask for feedback, and use what resources you have to the fullest. And remember as well that at this stage, it is very reasonable and okay to fail. In fact, it's kind of expected to fail when validating an MVP. This is a stage to fail with heavy investments and millions of dollars invested. This is a stage where you should be testing the waters and really be open to failure, right? As long as you learn from your failures and keep pushing forward, you'll be one step closer to success. We must be strategic though, right? We all know that starting a business is not easy, but with a little bit of strategy, our chances can improve a lot. First off, you have to be willing to do your research. You can't just assume that everyone is going to love your product, right? You need to find out who your target market is, what they want, and how you can give it to them. And then you have to be willing to adapt. If your MVP isn't working, you can't just sit down and cry over it like if you're crying over spilled sorrel, right? You have to be willing to pivot, to make changes, and to try again. And of course, you need to also build a community. Get people excited about your product, get them talking, get them involved. Using word of mouth is like the Caribbean breeze. You can carry your product far and wide beyond your wildest imagination. Most importantly, you have to have a strategic plan, though, right? You can't just wing it or hope for the best. You have to have a plan of how you're going to market your product, how you're going to get feedback, and how you're going to improve. When it comes to validating an MVP, building a community around it is key. Not just any community, though, one that's engaged, supportive, willing to give feedback, and they also provide a shoulder to lean on and cry on as well, right? By building this community, you can get valuable insights into the potential, into your potential users, what they really want and what they really need. And most importantly, how much they're willing to pay for it. And if it's one thing we know to do as Caribbean people is we know how to give people what it is they want, right? And engaged communities like a family. They'll stick around through thick and thin. They'll tell your friends about your MVP. They'll tell their friends. They'll post about it on their social media. They'll become your biggest cheerleaders. It's like having your own marketing team without the high costs. Plus, having an engaged community can increase your user retention. When people feel like they are part of something bigger than themselves, they're more likely to stick around. And who knows, maybe they'll bring a friend or two, right? And lastly, it's not included on the slide, but having a community makes your startup journey a lot more bearable. As a solo founder myself, meaning I don't have a co-founder, it's kind of me, myself, and I, having a community really has acted as my support system. I've made lifelong friends and advisors through building a community. And honestly, it's like my backbone at this stage. So, how do you actually do it? Right? At this stage, I want us to really think about how we're going to implement this into our own lives. If you have a tech startup, this is ideal for you. If you're validating a product, if you work on a team or a company that is currently validating a product, this is where the rubber really meets the road, right? So first, you have to find your people, identifying your target audience, and get them excited about the MVP. Engage with persons on social media, in different forums, at events, even virtual events, right? The next step will be to create a feedback loop. Listen to your users and build your MVP based on their inputs. Don't be afraid to make changes, right? It's like getting your costume for carnival. When you go home, you're going to be snipping, picking, tying up stuff, right? We can't be afraid to make changes at this stage. Third, develop a brand personality that's as bold and colorful as our Caribbean culture. Let your brand be a reflection of the people that you're serving and create a sense of community around it. Share your value added content with your community. Teach them something new and give them something to laugh at. So this is like content creation, right? There are whole fields of people who make a living off of content creation. Unfortunately or fortunately, sometimes as a tech startup founder, you have to be content creator, marketer, community development, accountant, everything in one. So getting really good at creating content that can give value to your community is going to be crucial. Fifth, you have to encourage user-generated content as well. So this is like reviews, right? Let your community share their stories and experiences. It's like showing off your best moves at a dance floor. Everyone wants to join in. From the time you start asking for reviews, at first it may seem awkward, but I promise you, the more your community grows and the more trust there is between the relationship of you and your community members, the easier it gets to get reviews. And reviews are golden because it's not just you saying, hey, I'm awesome, or hey, my product is awesome. It's someone who has nothing to benefit from the progress or the success of your company saying, hey, she is awesome, or her product is awesome, right? So getting user-generated content is crucial. And finally, you have to host community events. Whether it's virtual or in person, bringing your community together for good is like having a fete, except this fete is all about your MVP, right? Now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my startup Upro and how we use community development to make our MVP a success. So Upro is a platform that helps folks to navigate the confusing and oftentimes overwhelming process of immigration. We built a community around our MVP, and this was crucial in getting it off of the ground. We started by identifying our target audience, which was Caribbean people, just like myself, trying to migrate, trying to move around through this world, and engaging with them on social media, forums, and events. I even started blogging, podcasting about immigration issues, on settlement issues, just to get a conversation going. We created a feedback loop and collected user feedback and built an MVP based on that. And let me tell you, we were really very good at taking feedback seriously. I even built a brand personality named Kelly's Travels, and I created this paid community called Our Village. So that's the little logo there for Our Village, right? It should be a lot bigger, right? And Our Village is a networking community for Caribbean immigrants worldwide. We even provided value-added content in our community by sharing useful information about immigration and the different processes, the changes, updates, and news. And we encourage our customers to share their own experiences, aka reviews, and success stories, which helps to create social proof and build credibility for our platform. And let me tell you, Upro's community development strategies really paid off. Now in our paid community, we have 511 members. We have events that have over 100 persons in attendance. We have 3,000 persons on our MVP for Upro, and a social media following that exceeds 25,000 followers. And this was all done within the past year. I should mention that as well, right? After implementing this strategy. So this is actually my social media. This is the Instagram page, Kelly's Travels. And on this page, we have 16,500 followers, and you can go follow me over there on Instagram and see some of the types of content that is created. So this first piece of content there, that is just an overview of who I am, what I do, why I do it. This second piece here to the top is an overview of what Upro is, what it does, why it does it. And then this third piece of content that is right here is actually a review from a client, right? So we hit all three spots, and of course on Instagram, you have the ability to pin your post. So these three posts always stay to the top of the timeline. So in addition to this, Upro, which is the MVP, also has its own page. And we have a YouTube channel under Kelly's Travels. We have a podcast for Our Village, and you'll see how this is going, right? Everything, though, filters right into creating this community. So it's like a funnel directly into the community, and by extension, directly into our MVP as well. So to summarize, I'm going to just go over the benefits of strategic community development. First of all, we have early validation. Engaging with a community of potential users helps to validate the demand for your product and looks at the viability of your MVP in the market. Secondly, we have user feedback and insights. Collecting feedback from your community helps you to build and improve on your MVP based on real users. Thirdly, we have increased user retention. Building a community creates a sense of belonging amongst users, leading to increased user retention and loyalty. Fourth, we have word of mouth marketing, all right? The best type of marketing. An engaged community can become your brand advocates, helping you to spread the word about your MVP and attracting more users. Fifth, we have brand credibility. Building a credible brand personality through community development helps to establish trust amongst potential users. Sixth, cost-effective marketing. Community development strategies can be cost-effective compared to traditional marketing methods, which is perfect for all of us founders who are struggling with unlimited resources. So before I end, I wanted to just show you all this picture. This is an event that I hosted in Trinidad and Tobago in February of this year. And I wanted to encourage you as well not to give up on creating community and validating, right? Don't give up on your dreams. The road to success may be long and bumpy, but with dedication and a strategic approach, you can definitely achieve greatness. We are the pioneers of the technical industry, the tech industry in the Caribbean, and our ideas and unique perspective as Caribbean people have the potential to change this world. Remember, failure is not the end. It's just a stepping stone to success. So keep pushing forward, learning from your mistakes, and always be open to feedback and new ideas. Believe in yourself. Never forget that you have the power to create a better future for yourself, for our community, and the world. Let's show this world what Caribbean innovation is all about. And thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Khalees. That was so amazing. And I appreciate the very Caribbean innuendos you put all throughout your talk. That it was so relevant because those are like perfect analogies. Like, I get what you're saying. So amazing. Congratulations, first and foremost, for building your company from ground up to where it is. Not only your company, but your brand. But I have to ask you, how did you actually come up with the idea of this application? Because when you have one problem, there can be like tens of different solutions, right? So why your specific solution of this application?
That is such a great question because the solution came through feedback, right? So the first thing I started doing, because I had an issue with credit cards and I didn't have a card, and the hotel didn't want to take my reservation, and we were homeless crying for the very, very first night in Canada. Because of that, what I started doing is volunteering, helping Caribbean persons to get settled in Canada. So I would look for apartments for persons, I would go pick them up at the airport, right? And as you can imagine, hundreds of families, I'm in this midst of people, a lot of people now who were my past clients, and I realized that there was a recurring problem, a major issue of immigration fraud. I would say, and not even I would say, when I surveyed my community, 33% of immigrants had lost money to immigration fraud before. So this was a huge problem. So in addition to settlement challenges, we had this issue of immigration fraud. We had this issue as well of loneliness. A lot of people who go through immigration feel very lonely and isolated, right? So all of these challenges together actually contributed towards this solution. It was built based on challenges that my community were facing.
Yeah. I think immigration is one of those things that people are desperate, right? So it's such an easy thing and people take advantage of it. So it's ridiculous. So you spoke a little bit about the challenges that your consumers or the community had. What challenges have you had? From, it sounds like a lot of legal stuff, like
a lot of red tape. Yeah, a lot of red tape. But to be honest with you, my major challenges were money. It was money, right? Resources. Being a newcomer, starting over from scratch, meant very little resources. So in terms of my bootstrapping journey, it really was heavily reliant on customer acquisition, right? So like going out there and making us, I didn't have a rich daddy to be like, hey, look, $1 million to start a company, right? It's like, no, you have to go out there and actually find somebody who's willing to buy something. And then like 100% of whatever profits made was right back into, paying
The
to actually
company.
develop this.
Yeah.
So resources definitely was a major challenge in terms of getting it off the ground. But again, community development helped with that because it helped me to get customers. It helped me to source people to actually validate the product before going to look for investments and investors.
Yeah, you started to mention a little bit about investors and investments. Do you have any experience or like your perspective of being a Black woman and looking for investments? Like, how has that been for you?
So there, well, I'm in Canada now, and there are some organizations that really that's their aim to help people of color, BIPOC people. So as I mentioned before, I am the current winner of the BIPOC Women in Tech pitch competition, and I've literally just opened up this first season of fundraising, this pre-seed fundraising segment. Literally just 2 weeks ago, right? So I'm actually in the midst of fundraising. I'm going to be pitching again tomorrow and this Thursday, right? So I'm literally just like everyone who's willing to get me to pitch, I'm there meeting with investors. I'm like out there going at it heavy for investments. Thus far, it has been a really good experience. I've been meeting with investors, hearing their feedback. It's kind of rare because the tech industry is pretty male dominated, and then to be a BIPOC woman in as well. So it's like I think only like 2% of funds go towards women-owned tech startups. How much of that are actually Black women? Right. So it is really rare in this space, but I am definitely up for the challenge. I'm like tackling it head on.
I love the optimism and like more power to you. Listen, if you're watching this and you want to give Khalees money, you know where to find her. You know where to find her. So throughout your talks, you talked a little bit about like a lot of like testing your idea before you actually invest in it. So I know a common concern for like a lot of people is that what if someone steals my idea? Like how do you navigate that? Like how do you protect your idea but also test it? Like what's the good balance?
So obviously there's the secret sauce, right? So you're not going to be going out there with your marketing plan strategy, like the documents I'm giving it out there, like, hey, just take a look, right? Take a look at my marketing plan, right? Or all of my figures, all of my financials, right? But that is far-fetched. No one is doing that. I think that the amount of energy and the amount of people that it will take to get your startup off the ground, people really downplay that. I would encourage founders to talk as much as possible about your idea. Keeping it secret is not going to help anyone. Nothing is original, right? One of the biggest social media platforms, which is Meta, wasn't the first. They won't be the last. No one is coming to steal your idea. And if they do, it will never be an identical replica of your idea, right? And also, think about it. I have had a personal experience with this, which is why I will not put it down, even when things are tough, when I'm crying at night, right? When the money has run out, I still kept it going over these years because I'm personally invested in it. Whatever your idea is, it will take that personal skin in the game to get it up and off the ground. It's not that is something that someone cannot steal, right? So understand that your unique perspective cannot be stolen. Don't let that stop you from going out there because a lot of ideas die in our mind. A lot more people have experienced ideas dying in their mind rather than someone stealing it. Yeah, so there is risk there, but the risk of someone stealing in your idea is so much smaller than the risk of it dying in your mind because you're afraid to talk about it.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful because even like you said, like people could have the same idea, but execution is always different. So
completely different. Yep.
At the end,
as a matter of fact, sorry for cutting you off. Most people who are first in the game to like a brand new idea that no one is out there with, they usually get slaughtered.
Yeah.
Most times it's the second or third person who has this idea, right?
Because they're learning from the mistakes.
Exactly, right?
Exactly.
And as a matter of fact, if you have no competition, if your idea is really original and unique, investors don't really like that.
Mm,
That means
yeah,
that there's probably not a demand because how come no one has ever thought about it before?
indeed.
Right? So when you really look at those things, what makes a company succeed is not completely a brand new idea, but it's your willingness and your grit to see it through.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do that successfully, you're going to need to build a community, which means you're going to have to talk about your idea.
Very insightful. I really like the slide that you had on your presentation where you had all of your numbers because that was
Yeah.
amazing because that just shows growth in your company and you know we
Let me
love
see if I can get
growth.
it back. Let me see if I can get it back for you. One second.
Sure. So tell us like where
So,
do you see your company in like 5 years? You know, what kind of features or um what more do you want to do with your company? Like what is that big vision?
so this vision is actually for global immigration, right? So because I'm from the Caribbean, I focus primarily on the Caribbean in terms of validation. But now this project is actually ready to be taken to other major immigration hubs, right? So the target audience of UPRO is actually India, Nigeria, the Ukraine, and Philippines, right? In the future, I plan to see it open up to other countries as well, not just Canada, but other immigration hubs like the UK and Australia, and eventually global immigration, right? Everyone is trying to get somewhere else. Even there's immigration out of Canada. A lot of Canadians are running away from the cold, right? They're running away to other places. Everyone wants to experience life somewhere else. I
Yeah.
tell persons I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, they're like, what are you doing in Edmonton, right? I wish I was in Trinidad and Tobago.
I always hear that. Yeah.
Everyone is wishing that they're somewhere else. And I really want to enable this app to allow persons to move through this world without fear and experience life. Like you want to live in Kenya with a pet giraffe, go and do that, right? You shouldn't be afraid to do that and also be able to connect with your community wherever you are in the world.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
so important. I mean, I love meeting Caribbean people wherever I go. It's just like that small piece of home that I could just take wherever I am, and it's so amazing. So you mentioned that you are a solo founder. It's a one-woman show here. What
It
is
is.
like, I guess what I want to know is like it's hard. I know it's hard. You don't even have to tell us it's hard because we all know it's hard. What is
Uh-huh.
that thing that keeps you like going? Like, I gotta do this, I gotta continue. What is that?
It is the community because
Mm,
now I have people who are so invested in my vision that it was impossible for me to put it down. Even when I'm having a horrible day, even as simple as right where I live on my street, there are probably like 10 to 15 community members living on my street. Just because
I
I
love
live in
that.
Edmonton, people move here. Right? People move here come from my community. For this past year, we had over 100 persons throughout the Caribbean, Jamaica,
Wow.
the Bahamas, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, move to Canada, move to Edmonton.
Yeah.
At this stage, it's impossible. Even if I'm having a bad day, I better go take a nap.
Yeah.
Right? When I leave my house,
Or else they'll be at your door.
they're gonna come looking for me.
Yeah.
Right? So it's really impossible. And again, that is because of community development.
No, that's amazing. Like right now, you definitely have that community that's behind you, and that's so amazing. But I want to know, like in the beginning, like did you ever face like imposter syndrome or like what like you know what I mean? Like is this even a good idea? Should I even pursue it? What the hell am I even doing? You know, like how did you face that?
So I think because I started off this entire journey doing volunteer work, I didn't. Because this was just something I was doing on a weekend to meet other Caribbean people, right? I didn't have any intention to make it into a business. This wasn't the end result at all. So the
Hmm.
imposter syndrome wasn't there because it was just something I was doing after work and on a weekend. And imposter syndrome didn't really have time to take root until now, right? Surprisingly, because all this time between then and now, it has been driven by the community. Now that I'm entering this phase where I'm talking to people outside of my community, and I am like going out there and pitching this idea to people who have no idea about the pain points of immigrants, right? Now I find myself having to really try to make the messaging palatable and understandable and relatable to anyone. So it's not just about talking to someone who's experiencing, like talking to my target audience. My target audience, you don't have to explain to them why immigration is hard and why there's a need for this product, right? But for someone who doesn't have that pain point or who never thought about immigration, they don't know. So now I'm experiencing a little bit of imposter syndrome, right? It's like you're going out there and, oh, I wonder if persons can't understand what I'm saying. I wonder if I need to speak a bit slower,
Yeah.
right?
I get
I'm
it.
wondering all of these things, but again, I feel like the theme for this summit is so crucial. Dare to be Caribbean.
Absolutely.
I feel like our unique perspective is something that cannot be diluted.
Not at all.
Caribbean people, like being Caribbean is not a race. Yeah, it is cultural, right? It's not black, it's not Indian, it's everybody mixed up in one, right? And it's just a very unique perspective where we have so many different vantage points because we know about the cultures of basically the world just because we're such a melting point within a melting pot within that region, right? So I feel like really just embracing that Caribbean spirit, going out there, our light, laughing, casual, likable, charismatic,
Absolutely.
charming.
Yeah.
The
Just
way that
showing
we
up as you are. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I think that like on this journey of battling imposter syndrome, I have really just made a decision to embrace it, like embrace my Caribbean culture and like just take that as a unique selling and vantage point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has been working thus far.
And you know, the beautiful thing about being from the Caribbean is that you have the entire Caribbean on your back. You know, like especially when you look at like sporting events and stuff, like if the Bahamas isn't in the race, if Jamaica's in the race, we're rooting for Jamaica. You know what I mean? Like
Whoever's Caribbean.
Whoever's Caribbean, we're rooting for them. You know what I mean? So you have the entire area behind you. So
Yes.
that's the beauty of where we're from.
That is true. That is true. Dare to be Caribbean. I really like when I heard that theme, I was like, this is ideal. It is perfect.
It's amazing, yeah, because you know, oftentimes, you know, we migrate to different countries and we think that we have to be like them in order to get places, get things done. But then at the core, we shouldn't lose ourselves, you
We
know.
shouldn't lose ourselves. Yep, and we should actually use that unique perspective to push ourselves forward.
Absolutely. So in your previous statement, you mentioned when we were talking a little bit imposter syndrome, you're a businesswoman now, but you've not studied academically business. So how has like that must have been a crazy learning curve for you, like learning finances, like app development. Like how is that? Like what are you doing?
So I actually graduated from the Canadian Imperial College with entrepreneurial studies, so a certificate,
Congrats.
right?
Yes.
I had to go back. I had to go back and do something because it was becoming very clear to me that there were some gaps in my knowledge base, right? But even with that being said, it has been a struggle. It has been a stretch. University of YouTube has always been there. It has had my back, right?
I love the University of YouTube.
You know, I go how to develop an app, right?
Absolutely.
Like I think that especially for persons listening who may not have a technical background, self-taught is the biggest craze in tech. Self-taught, right? A lot of people who make a career and a living out of tech do not have formal education in this space, right? And likewise, as a businesswoman, self-taught went a long way. I feel like if as well, my experience with business is not a new one. I've always had like little side hustles, right? When I was doing my bachelor's degree, I used to sew dresses on a weekend to pay bills, right? And I sell dresses to everybody in my class, right?
Yeah.
So, and most Caribbean people also have like a side hustle. It's either we doing hair or nails, we making roti and selling, we have a parlor in the front yard, right? So I feel like if those transferable skills, and again, a lot of Caribbean people are also naturally gifted at sales. I feel it's because of our tourism background. Like we could smile and grin and sell anything, right? Smile and grin and sell anything. So I feel like all of those natural characteristics of Caribbean people that we kind of diminish because that's just how we are actual skills that could be translated into dollars and cents.
Absolutely.
Yes, I feel that it's really important for like the average Caribbean person who thinks, oh yeah, that's just for them. To understand that, no, darling, people went to school to know what you know naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really like
True.
embrace that idea of I can do this too. All I need to do is go figure it out and find out how to monetize my natural skill set.
Absolutely. And I think you mentioned earlier, like it was a passion in the beginning and it just turned out to be a great business. And that's the beauty of it, right? There wasn't that stress at the beginning of like, this has to work, this has to work. You did it out of like genuine love and passion. And I
Yeah,
love where it's at now. That's so inspiring. And I know
it's
there are
kind of
people in
crazy.
this chat now watching that are being inspired and one day like want to start a business as well. So like what advice would you give to a budding entrepreneur, someone who also wants to like just one day create value with a solution?
Whew, that is a good one. I think I really want to talk about like the bad side of being a business owner, right? This is something that most people don't talk about. It is lonely. It can
Mm,
become very depressing at times, especially when your family isn't supporting you, your friends aren't supporting. Like no one is really seeing the vision the way you are seeing it, and this typically happens within like the first 3 to 6 months of having an idea. Where people are like, yeah, it's okay, but no one is buying, right? Sometimes you have to step out of your circle of influence, find complete strangers on these internet streets who are more passionate about your idea than your own family and relatives are, right? And that is a reality of being a startup founder. I just want to encourage persons when you're in this stage, in this very ugly, uncomfortable stage, to keep going because eventually everyone comes around, right? Don't be too heavily affected by negative feedback and criticism, right? Take it for what it is, make changes, pivot, but don't let it like hurt your inside. Understand that this is something that you're doing, it is not you as a person, right? If say someone comes and tells me, Kali, is this app not working? Not working, horrible,
and you
right?
know, Caribbean people, we're not easy. We can tell you
I will
something
tell you.
stink.
We will tell you. If you could trust Caribbean people to tell you what you're stupid is, so come in to tell you, all right?
Yeah.
Come in. So if someone comes and they tell me, and then okay, right? Okay. I will take it. I will hold on to it, but I won't lose sleep over it. All
Yeah.
right, that's a difference. So it's really about like separating yourself as a person from your startup, but understanding that in those
Mm.
early stages, it needs that feedback, it needs that hammering. So that when you do expand, it can take it, and you as well can take it as an individual.
Absolutely. You are not your startup, and your
Yeah.
startup is not a representative of you. And that's actually really, really amazing. And we
Mhm.
actually need that feedback, right? Good and bad.
Yes.
It's how you want to create a good app if it's not always going to be
If
great in the
everyone is always
beginning.
like, yeah, it's all working this time, it ain't no sense, it ain't working.
No,
Right? It ain't working.
I love that. I mean, talk to us about like what is one highlight that you remember just working with Upro, your entrepreneurial journey. Like there has to be like, you talked about the bad. Give us something good.
So I think it would have had to be when I won the BIPOC Women in Tech pitch competition. So I think
It's
live.
validating, right?
It was the first time I pitched live on stage in front of a room of investors,
Wow.
right? And I was nervous. I was nervous. I was nervous. I was like, oh, I wonder how this thing is gonna go. And then I won first place as well as I won People's Choice,
Wow.
right? And I felt like at that moment, my mom was there as well. So my mom has kind of been, yeah, she does this thing. Yeah, like, yeah, Kelly, she does this thing. Yeah, like something on the computer, right? Something, she has people to come to Canada and, she just kind of brush it off. When my
Funny.
mom saw me pitch that night, her entire
She's like, that's my
energy.
baby.
Yeah, she was all of a sudden. It's like I always knew you could do it, girl. Like I'm here for you. Like I'm like, mom. Right? I think that for her, like just seeing that in her eyes, like her entire energy towards what I've been doing and how I spend my time changed
Yeah.
overnight.
I
Right?
love that.
I feel like that was the biggest moment, not just winning the competition, but how it affected my mother.
Yeah, just
You
them
know?
realizing like all your hard work and effort, like you're actually doing something in front of the computer.
Yeah, it's like yeah, she's doing something in the computer. She spent all her time in her office,
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Caribbean parents be like that. My goodness, Kelly, this has been so much fun chatting with you. I feel like we could be here for like another hour or two just chatting. You're an amazing person. Before you go, I have to ask you, how can we support Upro, you as a brand, your company, and whatever other initiatives that you do? Because once again, we're a community. We're here for each other. We want to support you any way you can. So let us know how that is. Plug your socials, everything.
Yeah, so
The
you can
floor is
actually,
yours.
I'm actually, yeah, so you can follow me on social media, of course, because I'm big on social media and following. However, if you want to reach out to me personally, you can email me, ask@settlesuccessfulservices.ca. Connect with me on LinkedIn as well, Kelly Williams. And the app is actually, we have some exciting news. Only 2 weeks ago, we launched the app on Android Play stores. So if you go to Android right now and type in Upro, you'll be able to download it. And the Apple version will be coming within the next coming weeks. And there's also a web-based app that is fully functional. So you can go right ahead and do that as well. It's at road.services. But of course, if you go to any of my socials and you click on that link in the bio, you're going to get all of the information that you need to connect with me on different platforms, because there's a lot, as well as access to the app directly and the web-based app as well. I think most importantly, though, what you can really do to support me is share. Share the pages, share with your friends and family, word of mouth, takes you far and wide, right? So I appreciate it on this platform as well. I appreciate this platform to be able to talk to other Caribbean people in tech and really create this community around that concept.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Killies. Once
most
again, we
welcome.
wish you the most success with your application, with your career and everything far and between. You've been such a pleasure. I mean, this was such a great opening. Love your energy. Love the segment, and thank you just for being here with us today. You've really started off with a great big bang.
Thank you very much for having me, and you'll take care.
Thank you so much, Kelly's. All right, y'all. That was fun. It's so fun being a host sometimes because you get to really talk with amazing speakers, hear more about their journeys, their stories, etc. So before we move on to our next speaker, we're going to take another few minutes break, and we will be back with more fun content. So refill your water bottle. I got my water bottle. You refill mine. Refill yours, and we will be back shortly. Welcome back from the break. We have an amazing video to show you guys, which is our address that we did for Google I/O in 2021. It's a really fun compilation of women in tech from the Caribbean and the Caribbean diaspora. And yeah, we really hope you enjoyed this video. This video is actually really fun. It was lovely. So yeah, let's play it.
If you're a young person or any person and you want to join the tech industry, now is the ideal time and ideal moment to do it.
In my role as founder, co-founder of Women in Tech Caribbean, we really help to kind of try to connect members with opportunities in the tech space, maybe job offers, help to try to connect others with maybe mentors that can help them, get into tech. If I was to try to convince a woman in the Caribbean to jump into the tech space, I would definitely say find community. The journey is definitely easier with others.
It's super important that we as an economy diversify our portfolio beyond the tourism and banking because the future is digital. So if you're considering to join us in the world of tech, I highly encourage it because you will be creating impactful solutions.
I would say to any young woman, any woman in general looking to get into the world of tech and is considering whether to do so, please do, because tech is so fun and is not just limited to web development or development in general, but it spans so many different areas.
Technology makes innovation and creativity accessible to everyone. Imagine the Caribbean being full of artists who can sell their work online, coders that can make the networks in the Caribbean the safest in the world, and scientists that use smart systems to revive our agricultural sector.
I am so excited that as a web developer, I get to create tools that are used by climate activists to help in their efforts to create a fossil-free world.
If you are considering a career in technology, I would say go for it. No matter how old you are or your background, there's a segment of digital skills that is right for you.
If you see not many people like yourself in this industry, then that's a sign for you to join this industry, because that means that the industry will become more inclusive if we have more people like yourself.
What I would say to anyone interested in getting into tech is to stay genuine to yourself. If this field is truly your passion, you will find it extremely rewarding. There's no right look in tech currently, but I would say it is certainly for everyone. However, the right mindset and true skill is what would set you apart.
So to create a better Caribbean, I do feel we have to collaborate more. We have to see each other, each island, as a part of us, because that's what we are, and by extension, a part of the bigger world. So I do feel that we need to work a lot more together. I would say for a young person, what I would say regarding, being a woman in the Caribbean, we have everything it takes in us to do as good as anybody else. So I think the first thing we have to do is understand that we are good enough, that you have done, you could be in any space. Just put your crown on and wear it proudly.
My work in development is not as a developer, but as ensuring as many opportunities as possible can come to young girls in the Caribbean so that they too can get access to knowledge, free info, free courses and training, so that they can open up new opportunities for themselves as girls in technology, as women, future women in technology.
After all of my years working in design and animation and a lot of different aspects of digital, I think my number one bit of advice to any young person or any person who's thinking about joining this field is that the only obstacle is you. I wish that I lived in the time that we live in now when I was now getting into technology. There's so much learning and it's available to you. The only obstacle between you and where you want to go is the amount of time that you can invest and the amount of energy that you have to pursue this interest. Don't let anything stop you. Just keep going and believe in what you want, and it can happen.
As an advocate with meetme.org, I volunteer and I've been volunteering since 2017. One of the well-known events they have is the Grace Hopper Celebration, which happens annually. The main one is in the US. It's always around September. It's over 3 days. It has at least 26,000 women in attendance, and as it is so close to the Caribbean, I'm very much an advocate to push for more Caribbean women to apply for the scholarships as working women, and also a scholarship for students. So it's really important to show that we have visibility within this region.
We teach youth to code, and we also introduce them to other forms of emerging technologies. I simply wanted to find a response to flaws within our current curriculum so that we could enhance it and make it better. Our goal here is collaboration and partnership.
Now, as women, you need to be resilient in the sense that you need to, if this is what you want and you want to go for it, you feel free and do whatever it is your heart's desire. Don't ever let someone tell you no. And if they do, prove them wrong. I mean, you know what you want, do it, right? My story is one of, I was elected the first chairman of GATS as a female. And to be honest, the road that I went, it was really, really impactful.
Just one more thing. If you're still not convinced that you have your place into the world of things, just look at the sea. Take a moment to admire the sea. You'll find the answer. You live in a world full of opportunities, but it belongs to you to find the right path to take your place, because you have your place into the world of.
This is such an awesome video. I smile every time I watch it because these are people that we know, right? In different communities. You saw the gaming community, you saw Girls in ICT, Women in Tech Caribbean, Data Science Trinidad and Tobago. Like, everyone is there, and it's fantastic. These are the people that make up these communities. Fantastic people. And we're out here doing it. So that's amazing, as always. So, time to introduce our next speaker. I want to introduce Nicole Joseph Chin, right? She has shared her expertise on many global platforms and has led advocacy campaigns around breast empowerment in Caribbean islands and nationwide. A very, very important campaign, if you ask me. But today, she's going to talk about impact-led partnerships beyond borders. Very important topic. Let's welcome Nicole to the stage.
Hello and thank you. It's so good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Nicole.
And congratulations on another year of celebrating in such a meaningful way.
Absolutely. It's always a thrill every year because we get so many new speakers who have such different backgrounds, different passions, different aspirations, and just give us so much knowledge. And we're so happy that you are one of them for this year's summit.
Thank you very much.
All right, whenever you're ready, Nicole.
Oh, so I'm taking it away now. Yes, so in terms of impact-led leadership and connecting the dots around the world, beyond our borders, it's so important to understand, first of all, who we are as individuals and who we are collectively. And in understanding who we are, we can then and only then take that next step to what we want to achieve. Because sometimes we do it the other way around. And not that anything is pretty much a cookie cutter approach in terms of figuring out how it's done and boxing it into that one model. But it's important to really be very clear on what our goals are and what we want to achieve. And then we can start building out that experience around who is that person or who are those people or who is that organization that's going to bring us to that level of making change happen. Because change is one of those very interesting things, right? And we can start with one goal, and sometimes we can also get railroaded, or we can lose track of what we're trying to do. And sometimes we can also become overwhelmed with what we want to achieve or how we're navigating this route. So, my first suggestion or recommendation is actually definitely establishing and defining those goals. And sometimes we also have to understand that there will be limitations. There will be limitations socially, there will be limitations culturally. Sometimes it's also a financial limitation. What we have to do as well is understand or establish how resilient do we want to be? How long do we want to wait on these partnerships or experiences to blossom and materialize? And I want to tell you all this. There is no shortcut to this entire outcome. There is no 5-minute pill that you can take or energy shot that you can take that will make it happen faster or make it work seamlessly. What it requires is a consistent package of efforts. And I say package of efforts because it's never an isolated effort where we can say, okay, it's just my brains and your beauty, or your beauty and my brains. It's truly about understanding that sometimes a cultural difference, a slight cultural difference, may change things or may warrant us to actually rethink the actions or rethink the way it's going to be done. But what I'll tell you is this. I've been doing this for 21 years. And I have actually, I feel, mastered the blueprint to some extent of what it feels like to build beyond borders. But I'll tell you this, you have to be genuine and you have to be kind to the process, because there will be things that will set us apart in terms of maybe the speed of things, maybe the speed of doing things, that rapidity or that way we do things in one place or in one domain may not necessarily always augur with what someone else is accustomed to. Or maybe it's just that it's done that way, but only at crunch time. So we have to also understand that culturally, there may be things that may cause delays, turnarounds, or probably sometimes even just abrupt stops. We have to also know, and that's where resilience comes in. At that point, if there's a delay, how are we going to navigate that delay? If there's an abrupt stop, are we going to restart or are we going to abandon? And if it's something that can be fixed, or we have some, communities that can intervene and support, how can we get that done? So I want to go back now, or I want to point into the direction of one particular partnership. And that's the partnership that was established in 2015 in Johannesburg, South Africa, together with my organization and Safe City. Safe City is a global app that was established in India, and our work is in women's health. And how is it possible that a global app that deals with safety is going to in any way intersect with women's health? I found it critical to ensure that safety became a part of the women's health mandate. And particularly because once you present as a woman, you have a higher risk of any kind of challenges around your safety. And that's not to negate the fact that men are also unsafe in this world. So, of course, we would have had to establish all of the reasons why we would work together, why we should work together, and how we could work together effectively. And that was where the partnership was born, Beyond Borders. Beyond Borders, because of the fact that we could now take our women's health activities and actions and take it to another space. I also want to speak about how we've been able to build out partnerships in women's health in other islands and other parts of the Caribbean and worldwide, because we've been able to take our education programs and have them available inside of other domains and communities where, again, it's necessary, it's essential, but it did not happen overnight. So again, trial, error, facing some realities, adapting culturally, understanding, okay, this possibly is going to work, but we have to tweak this. Or, hey, you know what, this is not working, let's abandon it, but let's come back with a new master plan. Because sometimes we also have to understand that sometimes it just requires a little bit of reworking, a little revision. So how do we do it to make sure that it sticks? That's the big deal. How does it stick? And how do we make sure that we are treating it kindly and well? So in making it stick, we have to create some formulas that will, again, work for us. As individuals and as leaders, and particularly as women entrepreneurs, how do we contain that entire experience around making sure that while it's sticking, we're not stuck? So we have to do very, very important things. And one of those things is, again, understanding who we are, being very, very clear and truthful to ourselves. And in so being, we have to establish that we are not mechanical, that we have to address our well-being, that we have to be very transparent about our wellness and our mental health. And we also have to know when to pause. And on the topic of when to pause, many times as individuals and as leaders, and particularly in spaces like the Global South, where we feel, okay, we're catching up with the rest of the world, we sometimes abandon some of the truths and the realities that we should really be addressing. And that's about our well-being and our health. So as a women's health practitioner, empowering women for the last 21 years, why would I abandon health or omit women's health, and particularly my health and my well-being, as I navigate a global space, and particularly of going beyond and going outside of my comfort zone to establish collaborative engagement? So again, what do? Personally, I pay attention to my day. I pay attention to what my day is going to be like, first and foremost, with my self-care. And I want to make self-care a very big conversation or facet around what we do and how we do it. Because sometimes we feel, okay, we have to do this and it's important and it's urgent. What is more urgent? Because I'll tell you, the cost of our well-being sometimes cannot compensate in any way or be equated any way to a business opportunity. So I also had to learn to say no. And in saying no, that was actually one of the biggest gifts I could have given myself. So as we start doing all of the magical things to take our innovation or ideas, our experiences beyond borders, we have to be realistic about a lot of boxes we need to check. And in checking those boxes, one of the most beautiful things is the people we partner with. How determined are our partners in the focus of changing the world? How urgent and what level of urgency is placed on making sure that we do it in a very systematic and kind, and I'm going to use kind a lot of times, way. How much do we respect what each other is bringing to the table? And many times that's something that we kind of take for granted. It's human. So we might kind of think, okay, let's just get this going and let's just press on. But sometimes we have to ask important questions. And we have to ask those questions in a really genuine way, like, how is your day? And are you going to be able and capable of executing this action that we have to get done? Of course, we have to also look at the engine room, right? The background, the back space where everything is happening, that behind the scenes space. Who is supporting us? Who is our team, or who are our engineers that are supporting things like making sure that all of the plans are going accordingly? Who is supporting some of those reporting that we have to do, monitor and evaluation, sorry. And then, of course, how are we keeping ahead of the game, whatever that game is or whatever that plan is? How are we making sure that we're working according to plan and that the plan is also giving us the fruits that we want to achieve? So, again, what we've been able to do is look at the results of our partnerships and establish what has happened since we spoke, what has happened since we got into the experience together. So, for example, one of the activities that Ms. Prophet has done over the last 21 years is celebrating women's health in a positive way. Because sometimes we take it, we take it in stride that we have to go through the process and that we shouldn't celebrate the outcome. But I think it's very important and it's critical to do so. So we have been able to take our celebrations into many domains around the world, in the Caribbean, in Asia, on the African continent, in the Americas, North America, South America. And what has been lovely has been the ways that we have gotten each experience to be successful. And again, the essence is the people. Who are we journeying down that road with? And so in 2022, we had the most beautiful partnership established where, again, we started just with one experience of sharing our expertise with one woman. And as we shared our expertise with that one woman, she was so happy, she was so pleased, and the outcome that she had was so positive for her life and her family that she thought it important to invite us to come to Dominica. So Nature Island was not on my cards for 2022. And suddenly, Nature Island of Dominica became a priority, and we were invited to build out very, very meaningful actions around education and celebration with the women in Dominica inside of a women's health space. What does that mean for us? That always means that we get to understand how urgent the work that we're doing really is, because to have had one experience with one person that translated into a national experience means that our impact is also being measured well. So again, that's one of the ways to reflect on, are you making an impact? So again, one of the things that always intrigues me is the fact that that's what collaboration really is. And that's the essence of true collaborative actions and the spirit of collaboration. Just knowing that whatever you will bring to the table will enhance whatever I already have. And when we do it together, it becomes so much more meaningful. Meaning is something that we need to pay more attention to. Meaning is something that we have to align to our value systems, because sometimes we align other things like money, or fame and fortune or that fast outcome. But when we begin to add meaning as one of the key ingredients to going global or going beyond our borders, we start to accept that there will be challenges and that how we navigate those challenges would be the sweet spot. So there were many challenges to get to Dominica, and they were overcome, they were overcame, and it was because there was none that was too impossible because of the people. Our ways of doing things in terms of the way we collaborate, as well as the collaborative energies of our partners. And this has happened in many other locations, many other destinations around the world. So I'm saying this to say that it's really not difficult. It's really not a challenge to take any of the work, any of the magical stuff, particularly in the tech space that we are doing and that we think is worth spreading. And what we have to do is establish what is that outcome we want to achieve and what meaning are we putting to all of this. And I think that once we establish that we're going to work hard and we're going to have sleepless nights and we're going to also have magical moments, we will know that it is worth the investment of the time. It is worth the investment of the energy. And so I've really, I'm sitting here and I'm just kind of marveled at the beautiful collaborations that I've been able to establish. At home, yes, definitely at home, in my twin island, Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. However, again, I've also been able to have some meaningful experiences inside of other geographic locations. And it's primarily and solely because I have wondered upon the meaning before I've looked at anything else. So my advice to you, my suggestion, I don't like to advise. I recommend, can I suggest that we look at ways to synergize our meaning. And when we do so, we understand that it's not going to happen overnight. And that when we do jump into the outcomes or get to the outcomes, it would in fact establish itself as a true celebration. So, with that said, I want to thank everyone who's joining us on the stream, who is participating in the chat or the conversation. And I'm now open to questions if anyone would like to pose questions on the platform.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nicole, for that. I mean, that is an amazing topic that you talked about regarding change agency and just collaboration for good. As someone that's into social entrepreneurship as well, I'm always thinking about how can we collaborate to help and move society forward. So I actually have a few questions myself that I picked up during your talk. You mentioned a little bit about impact and creating impact value. So how do you actually define the success of your actions and collaborations? Like, are there specific key metrics or do you have like milestones? Like, what does that look like?
There are some metrics and there are major milestones. We have so many milestones. And it's interesting that you go back to milestones because that was something that became a hot topic this week, particularly because sometimes I forget what I've done or I forget where I've been. And in 2016, I was invited to Washington, D.C. to actually chart research that was done on behalf of the Gates Foundation on the work and the impact that I've created over the years. And I forgot what I had done, but the research students who had actually gone on to the social media platforms and other spaces where my impact was already visible, they were able to collate that information and to actually document it for me to remember some of the results I've had. And so I'm saying that to say, that sometimes we also are measuring our impact as we go along. But one of the good things is when people are also making sure we are held accountable for success. And that action really spoke volumes of holding me accountable for impact and success from a distance, because I had no idea that this research was being done. I had no idea that these graduate students were, paying attention to some of the things that I had accomplished inside of an impact space that, again, had nothing to do with me, in terms of blowing a horn or sounding a horn, but what it meant to others, And then another piece of impact clarification was where in 2018, the director of global impact for Johnson & Johnson at the headquarters level also cited the work that I was doing as part of the International Women's Day commendation around the world. And again, my name was cited around the world as creating impact in women's health. And I was like, okay, so when I forget or when I lose track or when I'm not measuring, clearly someone in a very responsible place and in a very respected position is watching.
And that's amazing that our actions that we're doing, no matter how small or big, people are watching and people are being impacted by it. And I think it's also important for us to remember like our milestones and impacts, right? So on the days, like when you said, when it becomes super difficult and hard, just remembering why we do what we do, that's super, I guess, motivating, right? To continue with the goal that you're pursuing. You mentioned also, well, I know that you primarily work in health and women's safety due to your professional background, which makes perfect sense. But I'm just curious to know, like, if you had the additional time, hypothetically speaking, and like some magical skills, are there any other things that you would address? Like, are there any other, I guess, areas that you're also like passionate about?
Well, actually, funny you would ask. And yes, I pursue everything. I have the type of, I remember in high school, right? One of my teachers, my French teacher, Dr. Jean Gamble, she said in high school that busy people always find the time. And I don't like to use the word busy, but I always find the time. So like one of the things that I do, which I'm very passionate about and I've always been passionate about, is education. And particularly, I like empowering youth. So one of the beautiful things that I get to do actually is work very, very closely inside of the social innovation space at a university in California. And I'm able to do that and to actually also measure the results and see the impact. And I'm actually spending the last 2 weeks in that space with those students on the campus, building out innovation. Every year for the spring semester, we establish a project, a social impact project. I give the students a challenge. They jump into groups together with the professor that we co-tutor with, that we co-lecture with. And every year for the last 3 years, these students come up with incredible social impact projects. And this year, the students that I was actually watching very closely in terms of the innovation that they were working on, they won the pitch competition. and they won a financial prize. And I'm so thrilled because I get to be a part of the leadership of youth in health. I get to see inside of an academic space how this changes the world. And I get to see these young people go from idea, from scratch with not a clue, to innovation that is implementable. And then I see them acquire funding, and that just makes me excited.
Absolutely.
So the other thing is youth innovation, and particularly inside of an academic space.
Is there somewhere where we can see these projects? I would love to see what they've came up with.
Well, right now they're working on patenting and stuff,
Okay,
so
no
we
worries.
won't share anything yet, but I'm so happy and I'm going to definitely tag. But, you know, all of the innovations for the last 3 years have been in health.
Yeah.
And that is on one side. And then we've also been doing for the last 5 years another innovation project where they've worked directly with my company to help us to create and innovate inside of the health space as well. So we can share ours, definitely. Yes. So yes, I'll be happy to do that and to tag everyone in it.
Yeah, we would love to see that. I would love to see that particularly. I love that you started to talk about the topic of youth innovation, because I believe that we are the generation that's just we're upset. We want change, and you know, it can be frustrating at times, right? When we see things back home, especially. What advice, well, you don't like the word advice, but what suggestions would you give to young people who want to see change, who want to do stuff, but there are just barriers, like you said, cultural, societal, political barriers? Like what suggestions can you give for us to make actionable change?
I have 2 recommendations: curiosity and determination. That's it. Simple stuff. You know, I mean, we always think there's a scientific and an academic approach to it, and we have to have this 10-step model.
Yeah.
Curiosity, and then be so determined that you know that there's something that you want to do and change, and then that you don't give up on your thoughts and your dreams and your ideas.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what it entails. You know, when you bring it down to the simplest level, that's it. I saw a question from Maria. Maria wanted to know if we could hear a little bit more about my work with Safe City and the amazing work we're doing in gender-based violence, GBV. And she also wanted to know how did I choose to partner with this intention? So again, women's health is so aligned to everything. The minute you present with feminine anything, you are subject to bullying, you're subject to ridicule, you're subject to shaming, you're subject to inequity and inequality, you're subject to having to fight for equality of pay, equality of abilities to access things. So it becomes a very burdensome experience. And as we have been working in women's health, you know, people sometimes don't understand exactly what we do. What does Miss Braffit really do? I thought you already used to do bra fittings. No. We've always established that the focus is women's health, and the catalyst for doing so is the bra. So over the years, we have experienced so many things in our parlor, in our studios, in our spaces where we address women's health. And one of those things has actually been the fear of safety. And so in 2015, we happened to be in Johannesburg, South Africa, inside of a global women's program that we were both participating in, inside of a global partnership already existing. And we decided, hey, this is the perfect marriage. This is the perfect match. And so we started building out all of the rationales around why we could become a force to reckon with. Now, what I still am very concerned about in the Caribbean particularly is that we are so afraid to report situations. So Safe City is a simple app. It's an anonymous app. It's a crowd sourcing app. And what it allows people to do is to be able to report anonymously so that we can advocate for real change. My concern, though, is that Caribbean people are so afraid to speak up. They, I guess, don't trust anonymity, but I want to give you the assurance that Safe City, all of the reports that happen are verified. And of course, because it's anonymous, all we do is track destination or location where it's happened. And interestingly, the app has been well received and supported by Stanford University, Oxford University, all of the universities of the major caliber within the United States and globally have paid attention and invested in and invited the participation of the Safe City app to really support social impact in safety and security. And we have to really be honest about the fact that public transportation and in the public domain is where the most risk happens to any individual, regardless of gender or sexual orientation.
Absolutely.
And so it is about reporting incidences in the public domain. And I want to, at this point, use this platform and opportunity to encourage people to download the app, use the app, report. And then that is going to help in crime fighting. And I'm not saying this lightly, because if you understand some of the outcomes that Safe City has actually achieved, particularly where we have other partnerships like in Kenya and in Nigeria and in Malaysia, we've also been able to see where there have been results in changes around legislation, around policy, around many things, because of the fact that people have been really using the app and hotspots are being identified. And when those hotspots of GBV are being identified, or instances where incidents have happened, you see people ready to take action, because nobody wants to see something that physically measurable and not take action or do something about it. So Maria, I hope I've answered your short questions in a long format. Partnering with Elsa and Safe City was a total no-brainer. And we've done so many things together over the years and been able to really work inside the partnership. We've actually worked on the campus of the University of the West Indies and built out collaborative action there. And one of the students, that was in 2017, and one of the students that volunteered with us then as part of that student body is actually now our director of allyship. And she is still working on building out all of the social media campaigns, building out conversations. And Kelsey is really, really dedicated to Safe City Trinidad and Tobago.
Amazing. Well, yeah, I'm sure that definitely answered Maria's question. This has been super amazing, Nicole. Before I go, I have one quick short question for you. What is one thing you wish everyone would do as a small act of activism throughout their days?
Wow. One act. Let me see. In that bag of acts, one act.
The bag.
In that big bag of acts, I think people need to truly be truthful. We need to be truthful, because that's the only way we're going. I'm going back to that word meaning, right? Only when we are truthful will meaning just come into play. And will it be an effortless and seamless experience of creating meaning. And that meaning can influence and impact so many layers in our society, in our homes, in our families, in our villages, on our streets, in our offices, in our schools. And the ripple effect then starts to become so mind-blowing that we almost forgot what we did. We really just forgot that all we did was one thing.
I agree. Well, thank you so much, Nicole. We would be more than happy to share the photos of Safe City on our social media platforms. So we will definitely reach out to you after the summit to get some details on your application and get more people on it. So thank you once again, Nicole, for sharing about your application and your passion for change advocacy with us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We appreciate being here.
Thank you, Nicole, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Awesome. So we're finally down to our last speaker for the day, and she is our keynote speaker, a very familiar face in the Caribbean. I'd like to introduce Anushka, sorry, who is a dynamic leader with a proven track record of success in the technology and creative industries. She's the president of Creative Tech Hub Caribbean, a platform that serves as a network, academy, and agency. She has also served as the past president of ICT Association Suriname and as a board member of VSB, which is a Surinamese Trade and Industry Association, and AMCAN, which is American Chamber of Commerce. Anushka is also the festival lead of Anime Carib and a partner of Women in Tech Caribbean. Her dedication to excellence and innovation has earned her numerous accolades, I can attest to that, including the Anthony Sabga Caribbean Excellence Award, Women in Tech Global Leadership Award LATAM, and Women in Tech Global Winner Award International, which was in Dubai. In recognition of her outstanding contributions to the Surinamese community, Anushka has been decorated with the Honorary Order of the Yellow Star of the Republic of Suriname. So this is huge, and she's going to talk today about creating opportunities and overcoming obstacles, a journey of a Caribbean woman in tech. I'm so excited to bring Anushka on stage to talk to us today and to close out day one of Caribbean Tech Summit. Welcome, Anushka.
Thank you, Soumya. So good to see you again.
Thank you so much. Once again, it is always a pleasure to have you. You are a star in your own right.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Soumya. And I'd like to thank Maria, of course, because she has brought us all together today, and the complete team of our organizers, yourself, Janika, and everyone. I would like to thank you all for inviting me to speak as a keynote speaker, which is huge for me because I will tell you how the journey has been so far. And being a keynote speaker on a Caribbean summit means a lot to me. So thank you so much for having me. Also, thank you for allowing Creative Tech Hub Caribbean, my company, to be a partner again this year. We're really looking forward to all the amazing stories of all the speakers. And when I saw the theme of this year, I was so glad, so happy, because Dare to be Caribbean, it means something. Like dare, it means to have courage, to be brave, to be you, and to become you, to be brave, to become the version of yourself that you want to become. So it means so much to me to to dare, to be brave. And the Caribbean is known as the place with sun, sea, sand, creativity. The people are very creative. We're joyful. We love to party. A lot of colors, but also known as small islands, that we have a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of old structures, old thinking. But there's also a young population, a population that is ambitious to grow. And that's why I'm so happy about this team, because I have had to be brave throughout my whole journey. And I'm still sometimes dealing with things that I think, okay, I have to be brave and, do what is necessary at this step of the career, as at this step of where I am now. So, yeah, Dare to be Caribbean really spoke to me in a way that I think building my story around the team was pretty easy. It came naturally. So yes, I had to be brave at each step, and that's the story that I want to share with you today. So since I was very young, I think I was 7 or 8 years when I became aware of this whole thing that was happening. My parents used to have to go to this company where they would be able to call my mother's sister or my dad's sister, just to know how they were doing, because they were living abroad. And for every festival, but also everything that happened in the family, they had to go to this company to get a call, or to be able to call them, because they were living in another country in Europe and we were in the Caribbean, in Suriname. So whenever we spoke to our family, but also other people in the Caribbean, outside of the Caribbean, they would tell us how they long to come to their own country, how they want to live in Suriname. And always when we ask them, like, why did you move away? And that concept is nowadays still here. We still speak about the brain drain that we have in the Caribbean, that people are leaving Suriname, Guyana, Trinidad, Jamaica to go abroad and have a better life there. So whenever I ask them, like, why did you leave? Because you love your country so much. Every festival, you speak about how you would like to be here and enjoy the beauty of living in the Caribbean, but still you're living abroad in another country, be it the US or be it in Europe somewhere. And the answer almost always was that people moved away because they wanted better futures for their children. So that made me think, like, why don't we create the better futures here in the Caribbean? So if people can have a good future here, they wouldn't leave. So I was thinking, why isn't the Caribbean doing something that we can have better futures here for our people? And because I have a background in technology, I studied electrical engineer on the university in Suriname. I started to explore how can we achieve better futures in the Caribbean through ICT. Because when I created my first software, there were two subjects in the course of electrical engineering that where we were taught to program. So I created this software that we could use at the university to digitalize the whole administration process of all the marks that students were getting, how many students were there for each of the subjects. So I created this app. And when I created the app, I know that it gave me a whole sense of strength, a sense of being able to change something. So I started out, and I knew that if I wanted to create a better future in the Caribbean, it should be through ICT. So I started to study how other companies are doing them. How are they the epicenter of ICT, and what is it that they are doing to have like a full structure of ICT awareness, but also making the ICT industry to such a level where it could be beneficial for the whole country. It contributed to their BNP, GDP in English, sorry. So to know that, I started to communicate and collaborate with other entrepreneurs in the region, other entrepreneurs in the Netherlands, but also I studied what the countries were doing and I was making all these notes. So I created this whole framework. I call it a model for an ecosystem. And I started not just to communicate with other entrepreneurs, but also other stakeholders like the governments, CARICOM, the private sector organizations. And I started to attend most of the events that were happening in the region around ICT. Also, we started to organize a lot of events. We started with an event for e-media. Then we did the social media day and the event and all that. So we did a lot of events just to make people more aware about what is already happening in the space of ICT in Suriname, in the rest of the Caribbean, and how people can start a career in ICT, how companies need ICT to be more efficient and effective, to be more competitive. So that's how the journey started, and I discovered that creating better futures with ICT means that we need to develop a strong digital economy, and I call it an ecosystem. So we need to develop a strong digital economy ecosystem, and that became my purpose. So whatever I'm doing nowadays is just focused around that person, that purpose, the purpose of creating a strong digital economy right here in the Caribbean to be able to offer our people in the Caribbean better futures. And I'm very happy with my achievements, all the awards and recognitions that I got. You just read them out, Soumya. You mentioned the Anthony Sabga Caribbean Award for Excellence in Public and Civic Contribution, but also the Women in Tech for Global Leadership. I think those are very special and awesome. But the best award, the best recognition that I have is that I am part of the team that has trained over 1,000 people to become more tech savvy. I'm part of the team that has introduced to hundreds of girls ICT sector. So not just in Suriname, but across the Caribbean, we have introduced hundreds of girls to ICT. I'm part of the team that has done more than 70 scholarships for women in technology. The team that has established the first ever technology hub in the Caribbean with the full portfolio of digital transformation services and training. So I think being part of that team is my biggest achievement and award, because I had to build that up from scratch. I had to build that with a lot of challenges. And I think that the journey towards becoming who I am today is built around a few of the things that I think I call those my values, but also my mantra of how I have achieved what I have achieved. And I think the first thing here is that we always hear that you have to work hard. But I think the first and most important thing is we have to work joyfully and serve with devotion. Yes, people will say that you need to work hard, play hard. I used to say that also, but I discovered that instead of working hard, if you work with joy, everything becomes much easier. And you can work with joy because if your purpose is clear, you know what you need to do to to reach that goal, to reach that purpose. So everything you do, you can do it joyfully because everything is one step closer to your purpose. And I think that is something that more people need to understand. Your work is also your life. So don't waste it. Everything you do today, everything you do every day, it actually means it determines what your future will be. So work joyfully, serve with devotion, because serving community is something that has been incorporated in myself, in me, and in most of my team members from a very young age. My parents taught us that if you're doing good, you have to help others. And even if you're not doing good, you have to help others even more. So with whatever profit we make in our companies, you just mentioned Creative Tech Hub as a cluster of companies. It is the way we have set it up. All the money, all the profits that we earn goes back into the academy. So the profits are going back into the academy to help us educate women and youth free of charge to become more tech savvy and to be able to perform well in the digital economy. So we are a social enterprise, and I think that serving the community gives us so much joy that every time that we have to go the extra mile or work long hours or extra hours, it's easier to do it because we know that we're serving our purpose and that eventually a community, like something bigger than us, will profit from it. The second thing is to recognize that mindset is very important. Mindset is so important because it makes it, it makes it extra good if you have the right mindset. And I'm struggling here because I want to say it in a very diplomatic way, but also not in a diplomatic way so people understand it. But I discovered that there are many people who will have a lot of remarks when you grow. And so they had remarks when I was doing my whole thing. So, and those remarks are usually very self-limiting. They will always tell you that, oh yeah, we have been doing it like this for 20 years and it's good. Or if you want to change something, they will tell you that, yes, you don't need to try because 20 years ago we started the same. So they are in love with the status quo. They discriminate. There is a lot of discrimination based on gender, sexuality, and minorities, etc. There's a lot of bureaucracy, and I call this whole thing where people mistrust the others and they think that you won't be able to achieve something because it has been like this forever. I have a name for it, and I call it the dinosaur mindset. And opposite to the dinosaur mindset is the innovation mindset. And what I have seen that the moment that I started to leave, to get rid of all the elements that made me think that I won't be able to achieve success, that I won't be successful in my purpose, in achieving my purpose, I started to grow. And in the innovation mindset, we have a more human to human connection, respect for each other. We are very future oriented instead of looking back all the time. Yes, you need to see, your history so you know where you're going, but you also have to be future oriented and think in possibilities, in abundance. There is enough for everyone. And it's even the abundance mindset. So in the innovation mindset, we acknowledge that one technology hub, one creative tech hub is not necessary to achieve our purpose. Our purpose of creating better futures in the Caribbean with ICT needs 100 like these technology hubs in the Caribbean. So there's enough for everyone. There's enough work. I treated the company that I was working for as a platform because the owner wanted it to be treated as a platform where other people could start their own companies. And I helped achieving that dream. But when I started my own company, I got the platform to support me to start my own company. And today, 6 years later, I can say that I have started the company that is very successful, but I have never attacked the mothership. That's how I like to refer to Spamakandra. That's our previous company, Spamakandra. I have always carried it forward with me. And we started the Creative Tech Hub, a cluster of company where we have a platform, a network, an agency, and an academy, which makes it very comprehensive to offer a full portfolio of digital transformation services. And we offer the Learn, Work, Grow program to help people start their own company. So people who do the Learn, Work, Grow program with us, they can either get a job in a bigger company, or they can start their own company, or they can become a freelancer and offer their services to us. And sometimes they become competitors. If they have the dinosaur mindset where they are thinking in limitations and not thinking about the abundance, where they are insecure and they think that, there is not enough for everyone and there is just a small piece of cake and they will all fight for it. It happens. So some of them become competitors. But then again, we are the creators. So, it helps us in another way. And others, most of them, they become partners or advocates, champions, and ambassadors because they have the innovation mindset. They know that we need to spread the word of developing a strong digital economy ecosystem in the Caribbean. So they will always work on that. There were more people who got the same offer as I did, and not everyone was successful, but most of them are now successful in other companies, or they have started their own companies. And I created the whole Learn, Work, Grow program, but my team supported it in a way that we could carry it forward for so many years now. We started the program in 2014, and in 2023, it's still our best program because we are creating more entrepreneurs, and it's helping to bring development in the digital entrepreneurship ecosystem. The third thing that I want you to know is that fear is your friend, and failing is learning. Results are key. So what I mean to say is, yes, I am scared that if I train a lot of people, they will start competing with me. But I'm also aware that if I don't do it, we will never have that well-developed digital economy ecosystem in the Caribbean. So we will not have the better futures that I'm having. And yes, I'm learning out of it. And every time that I fail, I think of a new way of doing it. And now we have a lot of ambassadors and partnerships. We are even a partner with regional companies, other regional companies and entities where we can grow. And I think that one of the things that was always very difficult for me is I was perceived as too young, and ICT was a very new industry in Suriname where I started. No one believed in it. People thought that I was living on a pink cloud, that I was too optimistic, and they wouldn't take me seriously. But the moment I started to take myself serious, the moment that I started to show them the results, and that's what my awards did for me, but also what the other results did for when we were able to produce more companies. I think that made them think that, hey, we really have to look into the ICT sector. And I'm very glad that I have been able to achieve some of the ICT advocacy projects that we have done. So we're really glad with that. And I think one of the things that I was afraid of the most is hurting people's ego. And I'll give you a small example. There were men who were always trying, to get sexual favors from me. Like, oh, you want us to sign a contract with you, but how about that we go on a date first, etc. So those things were happening a lot, and the first few times that I said no, it was used against me because I did it in a very girly way or immature way. But I think I hurt people's ego with it. So, it was different. But then I sort of developed the competence to say no without hurting people's egos. At least that's what I think, what I like to think, that nowadays people know that I really have to take her seriously. But being afraid changed into being confident about what I was selling, what I was telling people to do. The whole ICT advocacy, when I started to show results and to bring, all my achievements home, people started to recognize, hey, no, this is something we need to take in regards. The fourth thing, and I think this one is very important for everyone who is struggling to celebrate their achievements, is life is a celebration. Celebrate it. Celebrate you, because you're becoming the best version of yourself every day that you're working on yourself, every day that you're working on your purpose, every day that you're achieving something, even if it's a small sale, even if it's a small contract that you got in, or you have been able to change someone's mind about something. It's something to celebrate. And I don't say that you have to give a party about it, but congratulate yourself, like share with your team about what you have achieved. I was very shy to speak about my achievements, and even until last year, I was still very shy about it. But then I met this girl at the Women in Tech, conference, award ceremonies, the Women in Tech award ceremonies. I met this girl from South Africa, Natasha, and I think she's watching, or she may watch the replay because she's in a different time zone now. And she told me that, oh wow, I was so happy to see that you're nominated for the Global Leadership Award because you look just like me. And when I saw that you could be so successful, it made me think that I can also be able to become as successful as you are. And I really look up to you and I like to hear more from you. And I was like, oh my God, why am I not sharing what I'm doing? I have waited for Women in Tech Global to go online and share my results, share my achievements, give me an award before I even realized that I should, communicate about my achievements. The Anthony Sabga Caribbean Excellence Award, they sent a whole team of Caribbean professionals to Suriname to film a documentary about me, but I haven't posted that document. I haven't promoted it as much as I should have because I was so shy to speak about my achievements. But then I realized that by not sharing what someone looking like me, someone from the Caribbean in a small country with no previous wealth, like money in the family, with no big name, last name. Usually you have a last name like Kardashian and you'll be very successful. But no, we didn't have a big name, and still I'm able to achieve things. I realized that I'm withhold by not sharing that information. I'm making it so how do you say it, less known, and people who look like me will not be able to identify with this. And if I share it, more people will go over the threshold. So I'm so sorry that I didn't share before, and I started to share. And I think last week I created this visual of me, and it took me exactly 6 days before I decided to post that visual. It was a visual with me with all my speaking and engagements coming up. I had speaking engagements like this before, but I never posted it in a boastful way because I was so scared to be perceived as arrogant. And I then decided, if people will think that I'm arrogant, they will think that I'm arrogant. They have the dinosaur mindset. But let me not keep people like Natasha and all others who are inspired by this journey, and let me just share it. And to my surprise, this girl who's also in the group of the IWD entrepreneurs, no, she's in the Trinidad entrepreneurs group. She sent me a private message asking, hey, Anushka, I have questions for you. Tell me what made you share about your speaking engagement, because she's also speaking and she doesn't have the courage to speak about her achievements. So she was asking me all these questions, and I shared with her, and I said, I was also insecure about it, but let's encourage each other and share our expertise, share our recognition. So my fourth thing is, life is a celebration. Celebrate it and celebrate you. You have only one life and one chance to be who you are now. I will only be once I will be Anushka Sonai. I won't be Anushka Sonai in another life. I will be Anushka Sonai only in this life. So I have to share as much as I can. And if someone thinks that that is not a good way, they're just, someone with a dinosaur mindset. So we're not living this life for them. We're living it for us and all the people with an innovation mindset. So let's go. The fifth thing is, treat challenges as opportunities. The obstacle is the way. And there are many examples in my career where I treated the challenges as an opportunity. For instance, we had an in-house social media team, And every week, I'm not exaggerating, every week I had to sit with clients because something went wrong. They posted the wrong visual, they didn't credited the photographer, or the customer wasn't happy, etc. And um, the social media lead, the person who was in charge of it, he did a very bad job in managing the whole process. So I always had to come in place. It was me always to have to go and manage the client, manage the customer properly, not to lose them, etc. And I was like, oh my god, this is not how I want my life to be. This is not how I want to spend my time, only fixing issues that someone else created. So I hired an expert with my business partner. I had this consultation with him, and I said, Vincent, we really have to look at this. And he came up with this idea. He said, oh, let's look at hiring an expert. So we hired the expert and asked them, how can we still offer our customers social media services, but not have the headache of managing the team, managing the lead, and of the manager of that team, and having to deal with all the issues that they are creating. So this consultant came up with the idea, and it's the Uber-like concept, where Uber has they earn money with taxi services, but they don't own a taxi. And that's how they created the model of Creative Tech Hub Caribbean, and it was very well. It was done well. So we outsourced the whole social media thing, and we created that opportunity for the persons in social media to start their own company and become a supplier. It didn't went as good as we hoped that it would go, but I tried that, and then after that we did the same with web development, and that went like a rocketing success. It's still one of our best earning engines. And another challenge was with skills. We couldn't find qualified personnel. So instead of being a victim and saying that, yes, the government has to do something because we don't have enough people, the government has to start an education, or they have to make education better so we as companies, as the private sector, can find qualified personnel. We just started an academy. And we said, our people can become better in their subjects by training new people. So yes, the obstacle is the way. If there is a challenge, see how you can make that a business model. Because when we started to educate our own people, we also opened the academy, so other companies could send their personnel to our academy and get training. Now there was this obstacle of creating content, making content for training that is up to the international level standard, and that gives certification. So we are the first ecosystem partner of Coursera, which is a Silicon Valley based company, the global leader in online learning and I can say that word in English, methodologie in Dutch. So, but yes, partnerships that complement your business are a very good way of how you can treat your challenges as an opportunity. So that's what we did. The sixth thing is to develop strong networks and mentorship relationships. Having mentors in place, and I like that in one of our previous videos, or our previous speakers, they have mentioned also that, no, I think it was last year on the summit, that the gender problem is not based on the gender of the person. It's just something that is there. And I think the dinosaurs still have that discrimination towards male, female, etc. But for me, the slogan is, I came, I saw, I grew. Whichever network that I joined, I started off as a participant. With the Step into Leadership conference, the same. I started as a participant. The company where I was working bought a ticket for me to, participate in the leadership conference, and I started off as a participant, and I ended as one of the speakers at the conference. In 3 years, I developed the skills, I developed everything that I needed to be a speaker on leadership. The second thing was the ICT Association. I started as a volunteer there working in commissions, in committees, working as a volunteer at all things, and then I ended up organizing the ICT Summit, the first ever ICT Summit, Paramaribo, which became a regional summit for 3 years. And after that, I became the chair of the ICT Association. The same happened in Canto. Canto is the Caribbean Association of National Telecom Operators. I started as a participant going to the conference to learn more about what is happening in the Caribbean technology space and to know how we can create the infrastructure for a digital ecosystem, digital economy ecosystem. And I ended up as becoming the chair of the marketing and communications committee there. The same with Anime Carib. I'm now proudly the festival lead for 3 years now. Thanks to Maria, thanks to Camille Salvan Abrahams and Roxanne Coultrus. I'm now the festival lead for 3 years already. And even at the International Women Day Caribbean Tech Summit here, I started as a volunteer, helping Maria with, organizing, doing backstage work. And today I'm the keynote speaker. So yes, I came, I saw, and I grew. And I think that is something that is the best part. So my fabulous ladies, in summary, let your knowledge and skills follow where your passion and purpose brings you. I will repeat this. Let your knowledge and your skills follow where your passion and purpose bring you. Find what motivates you and give it your all. Don't underestimate what you can achieve. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Anushka, for this. I mean, it's always so inspiring to hear you as a young woman in the Caribbean. I legit look up to you. I think what you're doing is so amazing. The fact that, that you do what you do now, and it's a lot that you do. But it's even more inspiring to know like your journey, right? So where you came from and how you got there. And, you weren't looking for the opportunities came to you. And I think that's so amazing. I mean, there was a lot of things I'd like to know from you. But first, I'd like to open up to the audience if they have any specific questions for you. But before I let them, I'll probably just ask my question in the meantime. You talked a lot about finding joy and bliss in the work that you do. And I think that's so amazing because you genuinely enjoy doing it. But what advice do you have for like when in the moments where the work is tiring, it's a lot, and you meet or not meet, but you have to work with people that are disrespectful and like how is that? Like how do you make your work joyful in those moments?
Soumya, thank you so much for your inspiring words and this question, but because this is very actual at the moment, right? I have this one thing, and I know that many other women are struggling with it. The moment that situation is difficult, I try to step back, and I think if you have seen how I work, you will know that I take time to unplug. I will always go back like to my board of thinking. Where I sit in my office, behind me, I have this large board where I have all the things, all the ideas that come to mind. I put it out there. But the best thing to do in those moments is to take a step back. To take a step back, look at your board and think, okay, and that's your vision board, your mood board, your vision board, and what is it that so that's important. My purpose is written on a board and it's how do you say, divided in all these chunks where I can always look at it and think, okay, what is now important? Take a step back. And sometimes I just unplug and I say, I have to step back from this situation just to think if this is what I want. How is this situation serving my purpose? Is it serving my purpose? And if it is, I just tell myself to, shut up and just take it all in and, do the work that's needed to be done. Be professional about it. Keep your emotions aside. Don't respond to something because when my emotions are high, I can just say the F word to someone. So I know that it's very important to know yourself. It's also very important that you take up some type of self-care routine like meditation or walking or sitting outside and looking outside. That's very good for me, like long drives, sitting on the balcony and looking outside. If you look at my office, it's with open windows because I like to look outside as well a lot. We haven't closed them off. So look outside because when you look outside, you see what's inside. And that is something that will tell you how to deal with it. Have a strong support system because in these moments where everything is going the opposite direction of how you want, it's very important to have a support system that will allow you to be weak, be your own self, cry about it. Like do all your frustrations about it. Sometimes I just have to, throw away whatever I had in my hand at the moment to deal with it. And I think that's good because it's a sign that you're human, you're still feeling everything, you're not becoming a robot and so focused on work. But take regular time off because you will have many, 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 many moments where you will have to work with people with the dinosaur mindset. They are not supportive. In fact, they are always putting a boycott on whatever you're doing, or they are saying things that are not so well received. And I call it my resilience. And it's very important that you work on your resilience, like to bounce back from situations, to fail and know that failure is learning. I think those are the things that I do. And sometimes it's just good to take a glass of wine and enjoy whatever is happening. And, knowing that today is not a good day, tomorrow will be better.
Absolutely. It's very important to keep that optimistic mindset. At the end of the day, things, like you said, it may not be good today, but tomorrow's a new day to start again, try it from scratch, and fingers crossed for a better outcome than today. I was actually, well, I wouldn't say I was shocked, but I'm sorry to hear that, you also went through situations with people with the dinosaur mindset that wanted to take advantage of you and stuff. And it's common across wherever you're from, people are like that. So do you have any advice on finding right partners for whatever initiatives, projects, ideas that you may have? Just finding the right partners, like how was that process for you, and what advice can you give to people who want to find the right partner for their project?
Advice, how I do it, like I don't want to say that advice, but I recommend my recommendations. But I'm just sharing what I am doing, and it may work for someone else or not. But I connect on values. So whenever someone wants to partner with me, I will take the time for it. I don't. I spoke about your results, that your results are important, and you have to be very results driven and do things to a very high level of quality. But with partnerships, that's one of the things that I procrastinate. Procrastination in becoming a partner of someone is very good. Give it time, because if it doesn't stand the test of time, it's not meant to happen. See if you can how do you say that, if you can click on values. You have to know what your values are. I'm uh, I, I already said this. I don't have a privileged background. I come from like a small family with not a popular name. So I had to build that own name. I had to build everything along the way. I have wealthy parents. They are very rich. They just don't have a lot of money, but they are very rich. They have me. have my sisters. They have very good kids. They gave us an excellent upbringing. And the values that they have instilled in us, surfing, so doing everything with the community in mind. Yes, I am growing, but my community has to grow as well. But also integrity. Integrity is very important. My dad used to like, if he gets more money back from where he is shopping, and he gives like 100, and he is supposed to get 20 back, but he gets 50 back. Even if he's at home and he discovers, he will go back to the store and give back the money to the shop owner. That type of integrity, but also the integrity in what I say is what I mean. I don't have another meaning, or I will tell you A and someone else B. That's also integrity. That's one of my values that I never compromise on. So if someone is not, if we don't share that value, I will never work with you. I said procrastination because it gives me time to get to know the person, to see how we're working. We have this partnership with a company in Guyana. We took 6, 7 years before we started off the partnership. And the best way to know if you're a click is to work on a project together. Make that project like a little, not too big, but also not too small. So if there are challenges, look at how the other person reacts to it, responds to it, and that's how you will know that this is a good partner or not. So values, surfing the purpose, and also seeing if it's a click on a project. And I think that's how I do it. The procrastination helps me to discover whether or not the person is a good fit for me. Right. And I know that sometimes we are taught that procrastination is not good. Don't jump on any partner that comes along.
Absolutely.
Try.
It's
Check
about
their backgrounds. Yes.
It's about testing the waters and seeing if it's a proper fit. Indeed.
Right. You said it so much better.
Yeah, I really love the more actionable approach to it, because it's not, it can always be peaches and roses at the beginning, right? But when you take time to really study the situation, a lot of things can be uncovered. Before we go, Anushka, I have one last question for you. And in the spirit of celebrating accomplishments and everything, and talking about what you're doing, what are some things that we can expect from you in the upcoming months? Like, what are you working on? What are some things you'd like for us to know? Plug in all of your accomplishments. You want to hear them.
Oh, wow. It's a bit tricky to name some of them, but yes. I'm the incoming president for the American Chamber of Commerce in Suriname. So definitely some more partnerships with American companies coming to Suriname and the rest of the Caribbean, as we will be reaching out to the Caribbean as American Chamber of Commerce. So that's one of the things that you can look forward to. And you know that if I get a partnership, I will certainly share with all of you. The Coursera partnership is something that we want to roll out in the rest of the Caribbean as well. So everyone in the Caribbean can get a license from Coursera for almost half of the price, instead of buying the online version that is twice the price that we are offering it. But yeah, more scholarship for women in ICT, but also for youth in general. We have a strong focus on women and youth. One of our ambitions is to educate 10,000 people in 3 years. So that's something that you can look out for.
Awesome. That sounds great. We wish you the best of luck, Anushka. We're always so excited to hear all of the things that you're working on, and you're amazing. Continue to be amazing.
Thank you. So are you. You are also very. I always follow like what you're posting, what you're saying, and I think you are doing a great job. I watched you earlier today, Soumya, and also in the chat, seeing all the work that you're pulling through with Maria, and I think I'm really looking forward to you. I hope you do extremely well, and that you even do better than most of us have done.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, all the very best. And thank you to everyone in the organizing team, with all the partners as well, for partnering again with us and for making my dream come true as well, and allowing me to serve on this platform as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, it won't be the last time that you'll all see Anushka, for sure. Force to be reckoned with. That was a fun day, was it not? Thank you all so much for spending your time with us on day one of the International Women's Day Caribbean Tech Summit. I've learned a lot already, and we have like 6 more days left to cover with a lot more exciting speakers, and topics to uncover. Tomorrow, day 2, we're going to be touching on the topic of climate action, sustainability, and technology, a very, very important topic in the Caribbean and worldwide. So definitely stay on the lookout on our socials, on our YouTube, and yeah, we're so excited to continue with this event every single year. And thank you for joining us today.